Hello, hello. I am super excited to be here to show you um, a sort of a reworking of favorite decks of mine. These are samples, so the corners are going to be not rounded, but they're samples of what is up currently for a pre-order, and I will put the pre-order link in the description box below. So these, if you've watched my channel, you know these. This is one of my most used decks for sure because of all of the Wheel of the Year and Year Ahead readings that I have done with this lovely deck. But I'm talking about Three Trees Tarots, which are sort of a collaborative between Stephanie Burrows and the artist Adam Ohlers. I don't know 100% if I'm saying his name correctly, but if you don't know his art, I mean, please, um, please go take a look at his Instagrams and stuff. He makes amazing art, and all of the decks that they have that as under Three Trees Tarot have his artwork in them. So the original deck was the Oak, Ash, and Thorn deck. And so this is quite, I don't know if it's going to pick up, but think about how white this is. This is patinaed from me using it so much. Like this is reminds me of like my um Tarot of the Hidden Realms, my original Shadowscape, which my daughter has, that just gets that from your, obviously it's from just the oils of your hands and things and just usage, right? This has been used and loved so much. So here's the back, which is going to be important in a minute. And you can see that this has a border on it. The majors have a number at the top, and the titles at the bottom. Now this is currently in order. I put it in order for some reason. I can't remember, probably for our tarot class. But what's important to note is what we're going to talk about, this reworking of these decks, is that these are not, so traditionally, right, I've made a few decks myself, and what often happens in the modern scape is that you're going to have an image that you're then, whether however you create that image, you're going to have an image, and then you're going to take that into, Photoshop or Affinity Photo or something like that, and you're going to create a frame for it. You're going to create your bar to put your title in, and so on and so forth. These decks were created with the cutout and the border. It was painted that way. So one of the questions we're going to get to, I'm kind of jumping ahead of the gun, but they're evening in this reworking, they're evening out so that the ones that match, which are the Oak, Ash and Thorn, the Smoke, Ash and Embers, and the Thistle Down Oracle, which is kind of like a set. This is the Heartwood Tarot, which is a separate, it's kind of in its own little story universe, so to speak, which is apparently getting an oracle. This is borderless, and the oracle that's coming will be borderless. But this little ecosystem here has some bordered, some borderless, different fonts. And so they're introducing a refresh so that all of these match, but there's no borders on the thistle. They are now going to have borders. The font's going to come together into the same font. Even like the numbering that's up here is going to come down. But they had to keep borders. I don't mind these borders at all. Again, I've used this deck so much. I quite love them just as they are. But they had to keep them because this is how they were created. And so think about it. If they were to make this borderless, they are going to have to cut off portions of the artwork and various things. Sometimes it doesn't matter as much, but sometimes it does. And so because they were painted with the borders and the divots, it's just different than if it was done in a different way. So they needed to be maintained as bordered. So this is the beautiful Oak, Ash and Thorn with its beautiful backing. Then came along the Smoke, Ash and Embers, which again I love. If you know me, you know I am a dragon person. I believe in the energy of dragons. I do believe that dragons existed and exist in some dimension. And I really thought that this was going to be too sweet for how I view dragon energy. And it actually reads quite powerfully and quite beautifully. Love this deck, use it a lot. But you can see it's not overly cohesive, and not reversible. So here's the way that that looks, but obviously it's not reversible. So we have that one that came out. Then we had the Thistle Down Oracle. I'm going to take out the extra cards. Now, the Oracle deck is borderless and then has this sort of little overlay here of the title, which is beautiful. Like, this looks fantastic. So it's not that there's anything wrong with the way that it looks. And then here's the backing. But it is a cohesive set and they don't look cohesive. Now, this would be the next. I love people that fold them like this. I would like to not ruin it, but to be honest, it's just gonna have to come up. I think I love the way these are folded when they fold like that. I have one sister who is quite the wrapper and makes elaborate bows. She would love that. Now remember, this is a sample, so it does have the corners are not rounded. So now, okay, that's just to protect it. Let me pull that up. And that's a protector. And actually, since these are in order, it's the exact same size, so nothing has changed in terms of the size. But you'll see that the font has changed. Actually, I think they sent out a newsletter. Here it is. And they have changed the font into, I think they say what it is. It's like Gaudy. It's a great storytelling type font. Quilt. I think it's Quilt, Gaudy old style, but quite a lovely storybook style. Now, again, this is super sweet, but this is nice and clean and clear, and it will be the same across board. And where the number was up at the top, the number is down here, which I think is great. Everything is just contained in the bar itself, which is lovely. So that's what we have there. And then here's the backing. And now the backing, look at how gorgeous that is. So obviously this is reversible, and but still it really has that essence of the forest, which is beautiful. Let me pop these up here. So then the next one, again, the dragon ones. I'm not going to be precious about this because am I going to save this paper? No, but I appreciate it. I appreciate obviously these will also, have their boxes and things like that. I'll read through the updates here. Let me pull that one out, those out. We'll just make a pile of paper. Now, these are not in order, but here we have the Fool, and this had the font similar to the other. So now, again, the font is down there. It's the same font. So these now match the font style and the borders and the divot in the bottom, which again were painted in, right? And this is important because I know that they have gotten some like, why didn't you make them borderless kind of thing. But the fact of the matter is they're painted that way. So you just, it is what it is. That's amazing, actually, to think about the paintings like that. So Now these match, which again, these already matched on the front, but now we also have the backings that, look at the backings with the dragons on the back. Let me look at it. Oh, it's like sitting up on, let me try to get it to focus. There you go. It's sitting on a branch. But look at that. It looks cohesive there, and it's reversible, which I lay my cards face up. Now, I have some exceptions. There are times in which I'm doing linear readings that I do like to have them face down. But most of the time, I like to see what's all on the table. So that doesn't bother me one way or another. But there are a lot of people who use reversals and don't want to see as they're shuffling, what's coming up, don't want to be influenced by the backs. So again, it's a personal preference and how your reading style is. So that makes sense. So here we have them now cohesive and both reversible. So then when it came to the thistle, now again, this is gorgeous. I even just picking it up, I'm like, this is so beautiful. But now we have this bar here, which again, love this for a borderless space. That makes sense why that would be that way. But we want this to be cohesive with the other. And then again, here's the back, which is so sweet. So let's take a look. Obviously, this is going to have the biggest change because it is going to go bordered. And it's nice that, some people are collectors, right? And they do actually like having different editions. There's obviously going to be quite a distinct difference between these editions, which is always nice to see. Okay. Put that over here. That over. Oh, I love the squirrel on that blank one. Okay. So now we have so now let's just flip these all over. Look at how nice and cohesive that is. We've got the same font on the bottom. We have the same divot on the bottom. It's now bordered. And then we have the squirrels on the branches here. So we have all of them. Let's pick all three. Oops. We have all of them, the ravens on the crows on the branch, dragons on the branch, squirrels on the branch. It's all reversible. And it all just kind of, it goes together. Like, that is beautiful out on your table, which does matter because when I'm doing things, I pop them out on there and it is on the back. So it is pretty. I am a fan of things that look good. And cohesive for sure. And then when we go frontwards, of course, we have all of the text in the same font, very clear. I will say I've never had any kind of issue with this, but it is like a swirl. There's like little kind of swirls to it. And I will say this is very nice and clean and easy to read. Again, I've not had any issues with this and I don't have good eyesight, but I do like the aesthetics and it feels very storybook. So again, size is the exact same. You have to take into account, obviously, there's just little tips that need to be trimmed off. But the size is the exact same. So that does mean that in the Oracle, we do have now a border. So you've lost a little bit. Let me see if I can find, I don't want to mix things up. Let me see if I can find this quickly, which, yep, here it is right there. Wow, that never happens for me. So you are going to lose, but if you see, like, actually, it looks like they shrunk it. Okay, so they shrunk the image so that you're not losing. Let me get something here. Let's grab protection. This one is alphabetized, so I love this deck. P. Yeah, so they actually shrunk it down so that the image is slightly smaller, but you still have the fun fact this cuts it tighter to the top than this one does. So the image, you're not losing image. Obviously, you're going to get a little bit here, but you already had some taken kind of covered there. So you're not losing anything by the change other than that the image is shrinking down from to make sure that you don't lose anything on the Oracle deck. But that is quite beautiful. I really love this change because again, it does give you a really nice cohesive to a set that is supposed to be cohesive, right? This is a set that is a set. This is in the same ecosystem, in the same world, and so to have them all cohesive, I think, is lovely. Now she noted to me, because I am a sorry, I just touched trying a different mic, so I just touched the mic, so I apologize. That was just loud. In the I'm looking at the email newsletter, and also when I talk to her, because Heartwood is really my I love. So this is nothing to take away from the others, but Heartwood is truly my heart is rambling around in this world somewhere. There's no question. And this one, she noted in the newsletter as well as to me, this will remain borderless, and there are plans. It's not in motion right now. She's working on the sweetest. I'm so excited for. It's a spider deck that's called the Winding. I think it's called the Winding. Um, they were hoping to have that released this year, but there's still a lot of work to do. So it will be next year that gets released. But it's, I'm sure, going to be well worth the wait for that. But anyways, the Heartwood is going to remain borderless, and the Oracle that is going to be a set for it will also be borderless. So, and again, that makes sense. This is a different ecosystem. I really want, I have no say in the matter whatsoever, but if I had my like wishes and dreams, if wishes were fishes, right? Then we'd all, what is it? If wishes were fishes, we'd all hold to nets, or we'd all have nets or something like that. Anyways, if I had a wish, it would be that there was a tarot deck, because we're rambling. I'm going to come back to this, but we're just talking about this. Like, I love these decks. um this whole deck, you are seeing this absolutely amazing house. It's been taken over by nature, but it's this beautiful house. It has a lot of references back to these decks, but it's I see this as being in sort of the liminal. So this, you know me, I see the dimensions as many people do. So we have our world, right? We have the everyday middle world, and then we have this liminal space, this border zone, where between it and, say, the other world, or in my understanding, the Fey realm, right? And so you have these borderlands where there's all these uncomfortable time spacing, there's uncomfortable energy, there's meeting up. We stumble into Fey energy here, and it bleeds over as well. And then you have the Fey realm, right? I think that this house is sort of in that liminal space, and you're seeing sort of one version where the natural world has sort of taken over. And I think if you go into the Fey realm, you would see this house and it's occupied and lived in and alive. I would love to see a tarot deck of the house, because this is really highlights the house and some of the things about, sorry, the last time I used it, I did use, sometimes I do use reversals. um the house is just amazing. It's got all kinds of little details in it, and I would love to see, I'm just trying to find one that There's all kinds of artwork. There's all kinds. That almost looks like that's a crib there. Is that a baby's room? I want to see a version of this where the house is fully alive and inhabited. Maybe like and it's in the Fae, but that's what I want. I would love a companion of this deck where we see the house living and breathing and not taken over by nature. There you go. That's my plug in to the powers that be. It's just 78 more images to draw and to conceptualize and draw. No biggie, no biggie. All right. So that's that. And again, those will stay that way. I've already said that. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this. When Stephanie reached out to me and was like, would you like to take, she knows how I feel about these decks. Would you like to take a look at the new iteration? Of course, I was excited to do so and to show them to you. So nothing has changed about the actual cards themselves. So the images are the same. The everything is the same. The only point of the change, they were due for a reorder, and if they're gonna do a reorder, it gives you now this many years down the road ability to say, okay, if I were going to change anything, what would I do? Let's make it cohesive, kind of refresh it, pull it all together, pull the backs into that cohesive look, which I think is a great way to utilize a restock like that. And so that is what we have. And let me just check really quick to see about if it says anything about the boxes. Major Arcana numbers move, which we talked about. Oh, there was a renaming of the cards. That's right. And I love this. This is, I use the Hanged in mine. On the Hanged Man, sorry, I went right past my majors. On the Hanged Man, it has changed to the Hanged One, which makes sense, right? We don't have a man here. I do like just to be the Hanged or the Hanged One, stay neutral like that. I think is nice anyways. It's what I like to do. So I quite love that. And then the same thing here. We have the Hanged One for this version of it as well. So that did change. The backs changed. And there was a refining of the guide cards. Now, oh, I'm a bad person. I don't have the guide. I have them put in my tarot box that goes under my bed. I do not have the guide cards because I know exactly where they're at, but I'm not going to try to dig them out because in the move, I have things very tightly packed in places. But you can look on their website as well as on their, if you sign up for the newsletter for that, you're able to see those as well. But they just have made, let's pull them out, the guide cards that they have, which has keywords for each of the cards, is how they do their little guide pages, and just made those be cohesive and beautiful across the board. You have a little statement for each of the oracle cards, so they just look very cohesive, sweet, simple. I feel like there were extra vines in the original, maybe, but I don't. Yeah, I don't remember truthfully what they look like. This looks very sweet and beautiful, and again is cohesive across the grouping. So that was changed as well. They refreshed the certificates of authenticity, which are not in here. And the boxes will be the 2-piece boxes for Oak, Ash and Thorn and Smoke, Ash and Embers. We don't have a sample of the boxes yet, but the Thistle Down will remain in a tuck box here. So that, and these have held up really well. This was my original, and this was fine. It was getting kind of loose. I did tape it. I know that would horrify some people, and potentially even Stephanie. I apologize, but I use this deck a lot, and so I really didn't want them falling out, so I did tape the bottom of this one. But I haven't done that with the newer versions, and those have held up. Granted, I use this a more often. This gets used a lot as well. They've held up quite well, but these are going to be two-piece boxes, which are nice. Like, I mean, I use tuck boxes. Obviously, it's cheaper to do tuck boxes. And lighter weight and all. There's kinds of reasons why you would use tuck boxes, and these are beautiful because they're embossed. I guess is it embossed only when it's got like gold and stuff? I don't know, but just like embossed, they're beautiful. I love these tuck boxes. This is my favorite because look at that. Look at that. I love the embossing, but these are getting 2-part boxes, which is going to be nice. That's going to stay as a tuck box. So I think I have hit on all of the main shifts and changes. Actually, let's do a quick, let me put these out. I'm I'm a person who mixes decks on the table. Like a lot of my, obviously I have just a general reading that might have just a tarot deck, but most of my readings have multiple decks on the table. So let's just do a little, sorry, I know I should pause this and do this, but I just want to make sure that everything stays where it needs to be. Okay, I'm going to keep these, careful with these cards. And where did the other ones go? Here's this. These are not those. And I have 1, 2. They're probably going to get mixed. I'll find them. They're somewhere. I just had them. I was just showing them. So, oh, here we go. I'm going to put these in the boxes this time. So, or not the boxes, but where I keep these this time. So let's just, again, these don't have the trimmed edges, but this is why, as a professional reader, I love this, right? These things I think are beautiful. So if I'm going to do a reading where I'm using all these decks, when I start my reading, these decks are going to be on the table. And obviously we've got garbage here that I'm not going to throw on the floor, but I've got my reading cards on the table. Actually, I am. All right, I am going to pause and clear this. Okay, I did want to show you this real quick because I did have a Thistle Down original, and you can see now, and this is, I will say again, they're trying to fit a lot of information in a very small space. This kind of all running together is difficult. I certainly would use this more than I would use this because now it's pretty clear to be able to see that. So I think that's actually quite a good improvement on that. So they've definitely cleaned and cleared that up. I wanted to point that out. And then I also just wanted to pop this up here with their Instagram and all their things in case you needed to find it. But again, I'll put a link to their website, and that will have links, I'm sure, to everything. So that is that. Okay, so again, I just want that, this looks amazing, right? Love it, love it, love it. And then if I was gonna take Oak, Ash and Thorn, and I would say, okay, I'm gonna pull a 3-card reading on a particular situation, right? Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Obviously these aren't super shuffled, but shuffle, 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 put my cards down and kind of do my main reading. Then I would probably take the dragon, because I love this one for kind of, okay, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's see what's actually going on beneath the surface. Let's go deep here and figure out what's happening in the situation after I would do that reading. Then I'm going to say, okay, if I go down another level and seeing what's, and then I can even, like, this is kind of influencing that one beneath the surface. Again, this is not official anything, but I'm just saying how some, depending on the situation, you kind of just quickly riff what you're going to do. Now you can pull, it's cohesive, it matches. And then you can say you're going to either just, I probably would, slide that a little bit back up here. Again, if I'm just riffing a reading here, then I might go through and say, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to do this. So I would read this in shadow. So do this. I need to have, again, depending on the question, depending on the message that we got there, then it was like, okay, there's some things that I need to acknowledge as I'm moving forward. But what's interesting is now we have protection, but in shadow. So in shadow, that's walking about unprotected. So what I'm not going to do is just head out without any boundaries, without any borders, without any protections in place. I'm not going to do that. And so, or I'm not going to stand in as depending on the situation, I'm not going to stand in as a protector. I'm going to guard my own borders. I might need to acknowledge that there are things that I have to kind of step back into my personal space before I can step, forward, in defense of others. There's things I might need to do. Again, not a real reading. So I'm just saying I would be reading that one in shadow as something not to do. And so then now I've got a really cohesive reading using all three decks, and they look really beautiful. Does it matter? Like, can you do, if you have the other decks, can you do it? Of course, I've been using them forever, but it is pretty. And I do completely see why, if you're going to go about a restock and have to order a bunch of decks, not have to, but you have the joy, right, to be able to order a bunch of more decks to sell in the future. Now is the time to sort of tweak it so that you get this really cohesive ecosystem. So quite love it. Love it, love it, love it. Love their work. Love the artistry. I love Adam Oehler's artwork. You can follow him also separately on Instagram. And Stephanie is just one of the sweetest people on the planet. And I greatly enjoy following her things as well. So it's nice when, people are amazing, artistic, know their tarot and do well at creating their decks, and are also just nice people, right? That's a bonus. That's an extra bonus. So there we have it. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this with me. Again, I will put a link to their website below. I did look at the time of making this deck, or this walkthrough. It's March 18th. They did still have some of the original decks. Well, I guess that one doesn't matter so much, but they did have still some of the original decks. So if you have like maybe two of these and you want another one and you want them all to match, they did currently have these for sale, with a sale going on. Actually, again, I don't know how long that's going to last, but I just peeked to see if they had any of these. So these are up. I'm assuming it's one of those things that once these are gone, this is what's going to be available after their stock of this is done. But they are still up there, as well as the pre-order for this set of decks. I have walkthroughs of all of these decks, and I will link those in the description as well. If you just haven't seen these decks, or seen a walkthrough of them and you want to see the cards haven't changed other than that Hanged One title change. They haven't changed. So you can still take a look at those walkthroughs if you want to see all of the cards. Okay. I hope that you have, again, a wonderful rest of your day or night whenever it is that you're watching this, and wish you nothing but peace as you navigate life.